Can you believe it? There's another big SUV.
With 3 rows? Yeah, that seems to be the hot trend, that's for sure.
You might want to stick around to find out what the difference is between an SUV and a BAT.
A BAT?
Just saying.
Welcome back to the channel. I'm Lauren Fick.
And I'm Paul Bryan. Welcome
Yes.
to somewhere in central New York.
This is South Salem, New York, which is north of New York City. We started off in New York City. We drove our way across the GW Bridge, up the Palisades, and up north here from New York to drive the 2022 Jeep Grand Wagoneer and the Wagoneer. And we're going to show you the differences and talk about some of the first drive impressions that we had. And I'm pretty excited. We're both wringing our hands, so it's tasty.
I wasn't. It was more in anticipation of something tasty.
Don't forget to subscribe and click that little bell because you don't want to miss this and the full review of both vehicles coming down the road.
So here we go. We've got a brand new iteration of the biggest of Jeep's vehicles.
Right, 3-row SUV. It is the Grand Cherokee, all new, inside, outside, upside down for 2022. We haven't seen it in a while.
No.
So if you're going to bring it back, you bring it back with technology, safety, power, design, and you better be coming to play in a market that maybe you didn't play before.
I was going to say, and more than anything else, you take a look at what Brand X has got as well, and you start saying, what do we have to do in order to not only equal what's in the market, but what do we have to do to exceed and shine with this vehicle in the market?
Well, I think the first thing is that they offered 2 different offerings. They're the same size, but they offer different things. There's 2 engine choices.
Yep, 5.7 and a 6.4 Hemi.
Right, I'm the 6.4 Hemi girl all day long. But, you know, they're putting that 48-volt architecture in so you get good propulsion off the line. And I think we definitely experience that, and you'll join us as we test drive the vehicles on-road and off-road and show you some of the cool things and our first impressions.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of technology that goes in, especially if you compare it to the last iteration. So, my God, even the passenger gets
special
screen.
Something we've never seen before, even in our Rolls.
Oh,
we did the
true.
Rolls Cullinan.
Yeah.
We've been in the Lamborghini Urus.
But you don't get an umbrella in the door.
That's true. There's no umbrella in the door.
It's okay.
It's okay, but you put an umbrella in the door, but not actually in the door.
Yes.
And if you haven't checked out our Rolls Royce review, you can check that out up here.
It's actually in the door.
Yeah, it is. And I think what's neat is they've really thought about who's in the car and who's using it, and the passenger gets a really nice gift for. Remember, we used to fight as a kid who sits in the passenger seat?
Yes.
Now you're really going to see it. But the second row and the third row are certainly not penalty boxes any means.
I think the second seat, the second row, becomes the area that wars are going to be fought over.
Versus the third row?
Yeah, because I think the kids are going to want to be at
their own screens.
At their own screens.
Well, the passenger gets their own screen. In the third row, you've got a view that is quite spectacular. And legroom, headroom, shoulder room, and all rows largest in the category. Now, first thing we're thinking, largest in the category. Really? It's going to beat the Suburban, the Cadillac Escalade, the Navigator.
BMW.
Yeah, the BMW and Lexus. I mean, there's a lot of competition in this category. But I think one of the things that makes this Grand Wagoneer special is it doesn't drive like a gigantic SUV or a school bus.
And if you listen to what I say from inside the vehicle, you're going to see exactly what I mean by that.
All right, well, let's go.
And you'll get the definition of a BAT.
All right, let's go for a ride with Paul.
Hello from inside the cabin of the new Grand Wagoneer. This is an initial blush as to what's going on the inside here, and some initial blushes from just driving the vehicle so far. If we went through everything that's new on the inside, you would be here with us until Tuesday of next week. It's chock full of brand new gizmonics. The first time that I know of where the passenger gets its own screen. Is it her screen, his screen, its screen, they screen? I don't know. Down to the point where on the passenger side, that has its own screen as well. There's the main IP in front of you. There's a center console that's got a screen on it that should be like a Foster and Kleiser billboard. It's huge. Below that is yet more information on another screen. It's all over the place. Behind that, a center console that's big enough to hold a six-pack rather, of water, Diet Coke, but nothing else. So it's got that. There's just tons of new stuff going on here. Now, the thing I want to get into here, there are CUVs, there are SUVs, and they come in various sizes. I'm proposing yet another size, and mine is going to be a BAT, which is a big-ass truck. When you go through as many product presentations from as many chief engineers as we've been through over the years, you kind of sit there and you're able to separate the wheat from the chaff as to how much is really meaningful and how much of it is marketing BS, and which is another initials. The chief engineer got up on this and he said, you're going to be surprised with the independent front suspension, dual wishbone in the front, independent rear suspension rather. He said, this is going to be the smallest big car you've ever driven. And I went, yeah, okay, fine. I know. I get it. It's big. We have a president, or an ex-president now, who was always fond of talking about a vehicle or something punching above its weight. Oh, that punched above its weight. Okay, got it. This is a vehicle, on the other hand, that does not punch above its weight in terms of the perception of the driver as you drive it. There are some big SUVs, BATs, that when you drive them, you feel like you're at the helm of a movable part of a bridge. And this doesn't feel that way at all. It's very solid, it's very unified. We got the same feel when we drove the Wagoneer before, the Grand Cherokee. We felt the same way when we drove the Grand Cherokee here a couple of months ago. But this is, the interior treatments, wow. The exterior, really nicely executed. There's a difference between the Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer. This is the 6.4 engine. Well, we'll talk about that versus the 5.7 when Lauren and I do a wrap-up on it. Geez, I like this. This is really enjoyable to drive. So I'm going to get back here to the Hudson Valley of New York and Connecticut and Upper Onawaka, whatever they name places up here, which are also big letter places. That's it from Paul's first initial reaction to this remarkable Grand Wagoneer.
Chrysler has brought us a lot of firsts. They were first to the minivan. They were first to the SUV. They even had the Pacifica, which is sort of like a crossover-y kind of thing. And that also, the K car, I know I'm dating myself. But the interesting thing is they like to be first to market. But now that Stellantis owns Fiat Chrysler, which is Chrysler, Dodge, Ram, Alfa Romeo, Fiat, etc., and I won't just go on. But they have said, they've made a statement, and I talked to a senior executive at a different event who told me that their goal is to be the top quality that they've always wanted to be. And a lot of times, of course, it comes to dollars and cents and still getting a car at a good price so that you can afford it. Well, now they said, we're going to run up against Lincoln. We're going to run up against Cadillac. We want to go up against Lexus, and they're doing that with the Jeep Wagoneer. This is the Grand Wagoneer and the Wagoneer. So we're driving both of them north of New York City. We started off in the city. We crossed the George Washington Bridge and made our way up Palisades Parkway, and now we're way up north, and we're heading off to an off-road course in White Plains. We will be doing a full review down the road because our first drive impression, there is so much, and I talked about this with Paul, You could do a 2-hour video on this car. There is so much content. Just between the Grand Wagoneer and the Wagoneer, the biggest changes are a few of the technologies and audio systems, but the biggest one's the 2 engine sizes. We'll talk about that in a second. What I want to go over is the first thing you see when you get in this car is very high luxury, top quality materials, nice leathers, cool color combos, really amazing, including this blue agave interior, which I have right now. And that's sort of like the super dark blue, like the agave plant. If you're into tequila, I am. Put your favorite tequila down below. Mine's Clase Azul. Anyway, as far as the interior, first thing, you've got your big 10-inch center screen. You've got a 12-inch screen in front of you. You've got an additional screen directly below that. And that's got not just your seats and all your other information, but you can change that information and turn on the screen to the right. So the passenger can see this. I'm in the driver's seat. I see nothing but black. But the person in the passenger seat has their own screen like they do in back. Now in back, you've got the 10.25-inch screens in the second row, but there's also a separate screen for the person in the passenger seat that I can't see at all. I could look over there and see absolutely nothing. And I've looked over there a couple times, seeing if maybe in certain light I can see it. I cannot see anything. I actually have to sit in the passenger seat in order to see it. And that's very smart. One of the things that I liked is the gigantic glass roof. And when you drive this thing, your first impression is, okay, it's going to be a big 3-row SUV. It's going to drive like an Escalade or a Navigator, which is huge. And we have reviewed both of them. You can check that out on our channel. This vehicle is a bit different. It's more nimble. It drives like a smaller vehicle. Not a car, not a sports car, but it's certainly more nimble. Now, part of that is the new suspension configuration. We had a pretty deep dive during our presentation, and I'm not going to go deep into this because I'll do that during the review, which we'll have coming up. But I think one of the things is you got the air ride suspension. It has the ability to rise and lower. And when you stop the car and you put it in park and you open the door, in 7 seconds, the vehicle lowers 3 inches. So you have the entry mode to get in and out. And that's really nice because if you have any sort of limitations, you might want to drive this vehicle, but you won't be able to get in and out of it. Well, now you can. And it's good for people of all heights. Just there's so much. You've got amazing, impressive head-up display. You've got Macintosh audio. The bass on this will actually scare you when you crank it up. It's like the thundering boom. But it is Macintosh, which is one of the best on the market. So one of the things you notice right away, we just made a right turn, is you don't have that big body roll that you get in the Cadillac, that you might get in the Navigator if you take that corner pretty aggressively. And that's what's typical of these larger vehicles, is there's so much body sway. And when you're driving it, it just feels ominous. You don't have that same feeling with the Grand Wagoneer. I'm actually really impressed with this, and it looks cool. It's got sequential taillights, LEDs, and they've really thought about the styling of this, which I really like. Now, one of the things they have that I really like about styling is things you notice that are silver in color. For example, on the door, on the exterior, there's a bronze behind it. The air vents are silver trimmed with a bronze color in it. Very classy. The stitching, again, has that. So you'll see a lot of bronze tones. This is very in right now as far as in homes. So the big question is, does this compete with some of the vehicles? Well, Paul and I will discuss that at the end. So you want to stay to the end because we have a different impression of this than most of the journalists that are here. They're writing about things, and there's a lot to write about. We're going to give you some real world experiences that we're having with this vehicle in the city, in New York City of all places, in little villages like we're in right now, and also on the highway and off-road. So we'll give you a good feel about what this is truly all about. If you're looking at a 3-row SUV, you need to look at the Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer without a question. Heading into the second row is quite luxurious. Tons of legroom. Good amount of headroom. The headrests go up. You can have them down if you wish. Again, that same brushed silver with bronze throughout this vehicle. And this is the same thing you will see in the Cherokee versus the Grand Cherokee. The only difference is the Grand Cherokee, you get, the better audio system and the larger engine. Now, when you're looking at what you see in front of you, you've got pockets, you've got more chrome, more bronze, in addition to the Macintosh audio. Now, behind this center console, this has the air-cooled center console, which is not available in the Wagoneer, but only in the Grand Wagoneer. You've got this wood, it's real wood. It doesn't feel like real wood, so it's probably some sort of laminate. You've got additional vents and additional controls back here that are very nicely done. All of this is USBs and of course outlets and more charging ports. So in addition to the additional charging ports, you've got a lot of other neat features. Right in front of you is a center console. This center console has the same type of opening here, the same type of huge opening here, which actually I'd rather have this huge opening than the refrigerator, but again, this is a personal thing. 2 cup holders are in front of the center console, in addition to you can have the screen off or rear comfort, which is heated and air-cooled, 3-stage seats. It's all easy to touch with your finger, really easy to use. And then you head back to the 3rd row. Here in the 3rd row, you've got a large sunroof, about the size of a normal vehicle, but it's manual close, which is totally fine. You've got your lighting choices that are up here, and there's a camera, so you can keep an eye on the kids in back, because you know they're going to say, "Stop touching me," and now you'll know who's the culprit. So that's kind of neat. On the sides, besides these 2 headrests, which I think should be down if you're not using them, you got, again, that really nice polished aluminum with that gold tone. You have the ability to move this seat forward, as you can see, or back. I can see my kids playing around with this. Also good for child safety seats, which you can put here. There is latch system for child safety seats on the outboard seats, not in the center. Cup holder, more storage, USB, USB-C charging, and like an unbelievable amount of head, shoulder room. And I'm sitting in the middle. Typically I sit in the middle because there's no room. All right, I'll slide over to this side. I can't believe how much room there is. And to get out, boom, press the button and you can get out. Did a great job with seating. Adults should have no problem being in the 3rd row. It is not the penalty box. So, BAT.
We've got initials for everything, like I said, and
whole
this
industry does.
I know, it's everything, and this is a big ass truck. It's a BAT.
It is, and you know what's interesting is it doesn't drive like one.
My point precisely.
You know, typically when you drive these things, the first thing I thought is I'm going to get in this thing, it's going to be like, you know, palming the wheel like you would on a school bus.
You need the J.C. Whitney knob.
The necker knob. If you know what a necker knob is, you put that in the comments below, because
Absolutely.
my kids didn't know what it was. I had to point one out at a cruise night.
Sure.
And if you don't know, I'm not even going to, we won't be showing you here today.
No.
So here's what I think. I think that the car handles like a sports car.
Well,
or as close as you can to today's sedans, I always say, or smaller crossovers. I'll take the sports car statement back because I have sports cars.
No, it's not a sports car.
But it definitely handles, you put it in sport mode. You have a snow mode, you have an off-road mode, you have a mud and rut mode. And that's on the Grand Cherokee.
That's like saying for a fat guy, he doesn't sweat much. So
you can put his comments on his social media at the Paul
I
Bryan.
used to be a fat guy. I can say
So
that.
you can say that, all right.
I had my own zip code. So anyway, the thing about this that's appealing, the self-parking.
Yes.
How many drivers out there, and when you take a look at who's driving these, when I go by a school at 3 in the afternoon and kids are getting picked up, you know, it's a lot of...
You're bringing other people's kids home.
Yeah.
Fill that
I mean,
vehicle up.
So when you got to park it, the nice thing here, hit the button.
It changes gears, it does the brakes,
When's
does
the
everything.
last time you parallel parked something this size?
I have in New York City, and it wasn't easy. I parallel parked a crew cab dually diesel in the city. It was almost impossible.
She's such an overachiever.
But parallel parking is not something people do every day. You pull into a parking spot at the grocery store, and you look before you back up, and this has rear cross traffic alert and 120 other safety features.
Yeah.
Crazy list, including night vision, which is something Cadillac was the only one for a long time that had that.
Yeah.
But you've got the camera now that's in the rearview mirror, which I really think is nice.
It still throws me off. It still
Driving with it, I can't.
It still throws me off. If you turn on the camera looking back while you're driving, you know what the weird part is when you want to do this?
Yeah. You don't see it?
You don't see it. It's not there. And you feel like you're a vampire because you're not showing up in a mirror.
Well, there's a lot of neat camera things on this. And it was really designed to think about who's using this. And so if you've got a big family, this is perfect. If your kids get older, typically you're like, oh man, I don't want to have to go to a minivan. Well, they sell minivans also, but this I think is a better answer because you also have a roof rack.
Yeah.
And there's the glass panoramic roof, which is nice. They really thought about.
That's a huge roof.
That's a
as well.
lot of glass.
Yeah, it's a huge roof. And the other thing too is that we've seen so many applications of people now, post-pandemic or still in the pandemic, whatever, wherever you want to be in the pandemic. A lot of people are saying, wait a minute, I want to craft my own vacation. I don't want to do the traditional thing. Here you've got 10,000 pounds of towing capacity.
That's the most of, I think, of any of them.
Yeah.
Without going to like a half-ton truck or more. Maybe 3/4 ton truck.
3/4.
Right. They say it's a Class 4 hitch. Every single Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer comes with a Class 4 hitch, which means you can haul some serious weight. Of course, you need the trailer brakes and the tow bars and all that, but it has all that. I mean, LED lights. I think what I liked most about the Grand Wagoneer, especially because what we drove, was the brushed aluminum with the bronze color. The design was like a really cool European watch. The designers were telling us that was kind of what he was thinking about when he designed this vehicle.
You see, I love the interior treatments, the seating treatments.
Yes.
You know, I'm such a sucker for the quilted look.
Yeah, and that new agave color is really cool. And you know, that's not something people see. You see gray, you see black, you see tan. Yeah, they have that. But they also have this cool blue color, and it's real wood. Although when I feel it doesn't feel like real wood. It's a very thin veneer.
Oh man.
It doesn't feel like it. You want to feel that open pore wood.
Yeah.
But overall, I think they did a great job. Now, we could spend probably 2 hours going through every single aspect of the Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer. So we're going to do separate reviews of each one. But right now, we want to give you a first impression because these are going to hit the dealerships and they're going to be sold like that.
Yeah.
They're going to be, there probably already people lined up for them.
I wouldn't doubt it with the shortage of cars that we've been seeing over the past year.
Right.
And
order what you want.
And you and I have both been saying in interviews that we're doing that we're looking at weights.
Yeah.
Well into the future. This is not something that's going to be over by Labor Day.
Right, and this is a 2022, so we're expecting this global chip shortage, which we've covered, and you can check that out up here, all the way into 22. And that's what it's looking like right now. It takes almost 3 years for someone to say, I'm starting from scratch, to go from no chip production to chip production, or if you purchase an existing company and you pull something in-house that maybe did make chips in the past,
and
you're still looking at a year.
Beyond the chips, we've got a rubber shortage.
And steel
as well.
issues, too.
And steel.
And now the government wants to make everything electric. I'm sure they're going to have some form of hybrid technology or electric coming out. So if you have any additional questions that we didn't cover, put them in the comments down below. And I will make sure that if it's directed toward Paul, that he will get on and reply. Otherwise, we'll get you those answers.
We always do. We have a very active back and forth in our comments.
Yes, we
do.
And
it's fun.
We have a good time.
And if you think we're snarky here, you ain't seen nothing.
He's snarkier than I am.
I'm just playful.
You're playful. If you got value from this video, make sure to subscribe and click that little bell. And don't forget to put your comments down there because we will be constantly giving you not just this vehicle, but the competitors. We've driven the Grand Cherokee L. You should check out our review on that. And we also have a full review of the vehicles separately because we drove the Summit Edition. And I expect we're going to see more trim levels of this very cool Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer. We're told there's going to be some new stuff coming.
Yeah, there is.
So this could be cool. I'm really excited. And I have to say that...
Follow you at Lauren Fix.
Yes.
On Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at @ThePaulBryan.
And I'm on literally every forum.
Facebook as well.
Yep. I'm on everything from Getter to CloudHub, MeWe, you name it. We have to be because we want to communicate with you so that you get answers before you go in the dealership because the sales guy's going to try and sell you on this vehicle. We're going to give you information so you have car smarts. And that's really what it's all about. Don't forget to check out the podcast, which is Total Car Score.
Sure.
And the newsletter.
I've got a can of Campbell's soup on my desk with a string attached to it.
Yeah.
I get tweets on it.
That's
how connected we are.
That's how connected he is.
Hey, Lauren.
It's a long run from Chicago to Buffalo. But we appreciate your time. We appreciate you watching. And don't forget to follow us on social media. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
So long from New York. It's good to be here in your state.
Yes.